just telling the truth. Why should I sugarcoat? And I don't mind. If you're not happy, it's your problem.
There's this saying that visibility creates opportunity.
Hi, I'm Seok Hian. I'm building better leaders with Kausern Hieu.
Hello, hi, welcome. Hi, I'm Kausern Hieu, and welcome to the Building Better Leaders podcast with me, Kausern Hieu, where we have a guest companion and myself. We will be tackling the letters that you have written in to us with regards to leadership challenges that you could be going through. So today, I'm very fortunate to have my book co-writer, a little bit about that in a while. Her name is Seok Hian, and I just want to quickly introduce how she has impacted my life and how she has helped my self-worth as well. So about 13 years ago, I've always been in the advertising and marketing front line in terms of digital marketing, and I wanted to pivot into the whole area of talent management, and I was very fortunate that I had that opportunity given by my former boss. And I was introduced to Seok Hian 13 years ago. And knowing how difficult it is to transition from a technical skill to a people skill, I really needed some help in this case. And Seok Hian was the first to, how should I say, always add value to me, right? So for example, she would send me to a certification class on Anagram. Then she would recommend me to join the Center of Excellence with the rest of the region's talent management team, and that was my first time visiting Istanbul, right, for that meeting. So it was awesome. So really thanks to Seok Hian for really looking out for me, and I really appreciate you for that, Seok Hian. And over time, our friendship grew, and if there's one sentence which kind of like encapsulate my relationship with Seok Hian is that she's grown to be my voice of reason. So every time, me kind of like overthinking things and so on. So there's always kind of like, oh, I need to talk to Seok Hian. So when I speak to her, then she's able to like somehow magically structure or reorganize my thoughts. Even though a lot of people say that I'm actually a very structured person towards people, but my own brain, I find it very difficult to synthesize sometimes. So I need somebody to help me to synthesize. So I really appreciate Seok Hian. And as mentioned just now, we have a book, right? So we actually it was Seok Hian's idea. Seok Hian reached out to me about 2 years back, and she said, "Hey, all the stuff that you've written on social media, why not we write a book about how do we impact new leaders all the way up to middle managers, right? Because that group needs the most help." And ta-da! This is our book. Da-da-da-da-da. Right? So the details, we will leave it in the link below on how to get this book, right? So, but today it's about tackling some challenges, right? So, but before that, for those who do not know you, Seok Hian, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, my pleasure. Hi, good day to everyone. My name is Seok Hian, and thank you, Kausern, for all the kind words. You have also done your part in terms of helping me at that time. I think it was great partnership. I feel when I recall, it's like I really enjoyed working with you because you come with a technical and a business background. So that was a great compliment with the talent management lens, and I also learned a lot from you in those days. Yeah. So hi everyone. Thanks for having me here today. I've always been a HR professional in the last 20 over years, and helping leaders and companies basically build better teams. So last 10 years I've left corporate to kind of run my own consulting firm, working a lot with startups as well, and therefore have my fair share of leadership conversations and coaching with young leaders and high potentials. So I think this book that just now Kausern mentioned, I think is also part of a dream that I personally want to work on in terms of how can we support and build better leaders today. Especially a lot of times is with very little guidance in the corporate world, they really struggle. And I've seen how startups and even SMEs or multinationals, they kind of like struggle through in a less structured environment. So we hope to address some of the letters today through this podcast.
Thanks. And for those who do not know, Seok Hian is calling all the way in from Singapore.
Oh, yes.
So even the book itself is like a cross-border
Yes.
collaboration. Wow! Anyway,
Thanks for technology.
Okay, let's tackle the first letter that we received. Let me read out. Okay, so it says here, Dear Building Better Leaders, I've had ongoing feedback conversations with one of my team members and I'm stuck. This isn't a case of missed deadlines or poor work quality. He's delivering on that front. The issue is how he shows up. He tends to interrupt others in meetings, dominate conversations, take credit subtly, and have a habit of rolling his eyes or sighing when given direction. I've tried raising these things both in a gentle and direct way, but he will always be agreeable in the moment, nodding, apologizing, even acknowledging the impact. But the behavior doesn't actually change. And because none of it is extremely bad on its own, it feels hard to justify formal action. But the sum of these micro behaviors is draining. The team tiptoes around him. I find myself rehearsing every feedback conversation in my head, afraid I'll come across as nitpicking or making it a bigger deal than it is. What do you do in such a situation? So at the top of my mind, I think this is something which, when I was working in a corporate world, this comes up a lot of times, right? So for example, if a salesperson is being, it's a high performer in this case in terms of closing deals and all, but in terms of how she or he reacts or respond or collaborate or lack of collaboration with the rest of the team has always been the problem. But because sometimes the business is so geared towards performance, bringing in the money, bringing in the revenue and so on, it's very difficult to justify actions. So most of the time, organizations will go like, oh, but this person is bringing in the money, so let's not rock the boat, that kind of thing, right? Especially if at that point in time, revenue is really important. So it's quite difficult to quantify such behavior versus, for example, very obvious things like not closing a deal, punctuality, and very disciplinary stuff like, for example, stealing and all these things. So this is very clear, but these are all the subtle things, right, which is very difficult to measure. So I'm just wondering, based on your experience, how should we address this letter writer?
I can empathize because a lot of times why it makes this kind of little behaviors very gray is because sometimes it's due to preferences, right? So for example, if I prefer to communicate in a certain manner, I'm a left brainer versus, sometimes not as sensitive to emotions and all that. It sometimes boils down to appear like a personal preference, and therefore that's when will it toe the line into a professional settings or professional so-called not acceptable in a corporate setting. So the key focus here, I think, is the feedback. Clearly this manager has tried to give this person a lot of feedback, but behavior did not change. So I think the first thing is really look at how the feedback was given. Because a lot of times feedback is really it has to come with tangible actions to take. And it's not just passing a comment to say that, hey, you shouldn't have done that, you make this person feel this way. But feedback, in order to be constructive, really has to come with tangible changes at the behavioral level to observe. And therefore, then you can subsequently hold the person accountable if the actions or behaviors remain unchanged.
What do you mean by tangible changes in this case? I mean, as in like for example, the letter writer says here,
interrupt others in
rolling
meetings,
eyes, interrupting, and so on, right? So how do you even start having such conversations with a person like that?
So if I'm the line manager, then I will pull this person aside to say that, hey, there's a set of observable behaviors, like you roll eyes when people say something you disagree with, and or you interrupt people and do not dominate situations, conversations. I think these are affecting so how we actually let them know that specific actions or behaviors are creating certain impact. So there are many feedback models out there. So you can basically let the person know how they are affecting other people. So it's like you dominate, you don't let others give input, and people don't have a chance to speak, etc., etc. So then you also talk about what is the development expectations. So if the person is, not aware of it, I think then that's a good start. Say that, okay, I'd like you in future be aware of this, not to roll dice, give people the time to speak, let people finish the sentences.
Okay.
Yeah. If the person has this, if this is not the first conversation, then clearly it's a motivational issues. That's where the coaching comes in.
Okay. And how does that look like? Let's say this is not the first time. It seems that from the letter writer, it is not the first time
It's
because
not the first time,
this person has not apologized and it's still happening, right? So what do you advise this person?
I would suggest you take a coaching front for this person. So meaning that really understand is like why the person want to do this. Did the person actually mistaken authenticity mistaken indulgence as authenticity. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like to them maybe I'm just trying to be myself. I'm trying to speak the truth, and nobody wants to listen to harsh truth. I've met so-called difficult people coming from that angle, and they are not wrong per se. So by being right, they feel they have the permission to actually do that to other people.
Oh,
But then
that's first time I'm
feeling
hearing
justified. Yeah, feeling justified doesn't mean you have the
Feeling
permission. Yeah.
that. Right. So that's the motivation, right? In terms of
Yes.
like, this is who I am.
Yes, this is who I am. And there could be other reasons like, this person feel that, it's like when I try other ways, nobody listen or pay attention to me. So I have to kind of like be nasty. That could be from their worldview or upbringing or whatever. Yeah, or that's the way the person wants to show power. So there are many possible reasons behind those sets of difficult behaviors usually.
It does make sense when you talk about using the coaching front because me being a coach as well, it is not really about giving statements or advice in this case, right? It's really about trying to understand where is those behavior coming from. It's like the whole iceberg conversation, right? We only see that 10%, but the 90% of it is below the watermark, and we don't know what's really going on. Like you say, it could be, cultural, it could be authenticity, it could be show of power and all. And I think it's only right that by true coaching, it will help the person to kind of go dive deeper into the iceberg and try to understand that person. So coaching helps to unlock the reason behind it in this case, right? And so that it doesn't come back again and again. I think a lot of times, even like in bringing out a child, like a small kid in this case, so most of the time it's always you just address the symptom. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Right?
Yes.
Then after that, then it keeps recurring, right? So, but for an adult, I think it's really to fully understand like where is it coming from and to be able to address that. I just would like to add on about the emphasis of the consequences, the impact. I think the letter writer did say that, did mention about the impact, but I'm not too sure how serious or how detailed the letter writer has addressed this impact. So usually, I think a lot of times when we give feedback, we just kind of like the SBI method, right? Situation, behavior, and impact. A lot of times we missed out on the consequence or the impact, the I portion in this case.
Yes.
We talk very clearly about the situation, to say that very specific situation, that particular meeting, or that conversation and so on. So that sets the context and then the behavior. But then thereafter, it doesn't. The line manager do not give the kind of tangible impact they may have, right? So I realized that whenever last time when I missed out the I part, the impact part, somehow it just keep recurring. But when I mention about how it impacts people around, or how it impacts me. So like for example, I would probably say that rolling your eyes and all is not helpful because I understand that you are gunning to want to be a manager in the next 6 months, and such behaviors is not going to be helpful for you.
Yes.
Something like that, right? Or even like, for example, I would say that and such behaviors is actually draining your team and draining the people around you. And if you are going to be gunning for a manager, such behaviors is not going to be helpful for you, and it's very draining for me as your boss or as your manager. So when we very tangibly explain it this way, then they understand that, oh, actually my actions, even though it is authentic, power showing, whatever, it's not going to be helpful for myself, right? Because in this case, like I'm gunning for a promotion, so that sticks. So they will know that, oh, my action is not going to help my promotion.
Yes.
So I think that emphasis is really important. So once that's done, of course, we don't stop there, like you say. Then we want to be able to say, okay, so what's the new action, or what's the new behavior that we want to be able to demonstrate, right? That's where the coaching bit comes in, So I always believe that the feedback method, the SBI, whatever frameworks out there, always needs to couple with coaching to help the person to move to the new behavior, so that there is clear progress indicator of how this new behavior looks like. And when the line manager catches this new behavior being demonstrated, the line manager's job is to very quickly say, that's exactly how you should be behaving. Well done. Please continue this because it's really helpful, and the team is starting to listen to you more. Or the team is starting to respect you a bit more. So such feedback will continue to help that person in this case. So that's kind of my thoughts about it.
I have one
I'm wondering,
thing
is there
to
anything to
add.
add on?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
one thing to add. I think when we put across the consequence, right, or the impact, it's very important not to sound like a threat. Yeah. So for example, like when you say that it will affect the promotion, there is a
Right.
chance that the other person, the receiving end, to perceive that, are you threatening me that I'm not going to get my promotion? So
Okay.
usually we want to kind of like put it across using universal laws, meaning that by nature this is likely to happen. So for example, I have a similar conversation like that where I have to tell the person that it's very hard for me to put your case as a business case for promotion if you continue to behave in this way.
Got it.
And I put it across as, it's like, look, you are starting to create certain reputation about yourself in the company by behaving this way. And even if I put up a case, I don't think the other stakeholders who are involved in your praises would actually be favorable to your promotion. So therefore, let's not do this. Let's go, let's find something that is useful so that we can strike a win-win. So you don't want to put it and make yourself as becoming the one giving out the threat. But by universal law, like by behaving this way, you make most people feel in a certain way, and therefore you're starting to have certain reputation. And if I were to promote you, your peers are not going to give you the respect. So it's
Got
no
it.
longer about the promotion anymore.
Got it. Okay. Wow. Yeah, again, back to how you say it, right? A lot of times feedback is really, the what is clear, but the how is always the one that breaks in the middle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is usually how whether feedback is good or bad, it is how we deliver it that makes it good or bad. A lot of times not the content.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think the coaching bit itself, it's also important to be able to invite collaboration from the person as well. So like in this case, after you have explained the consequences and you kind of say that this is the new behavior that I'm looking for, then I think it's very appropriate for the line manager to be able to invite the other person to say, so this is where we want to go, this is how we want to look like. Any thoughts on how, if this situation would happen again, what would you do? How would you react, or how would you behave so that you end up in this particular destination. I think that's really important, because I feel that I think even in the book that we've written, we always talk about the balance of results and fostering relationship,
yes.
right? So that is exactly what it is, right? So you state very clearly what is the result that we're looking for, but yet you give space and creativity for the other person to figure out and collaborate with you how to get to that particular destination in this case, right? So that is where the relationship building comes in. That's where the trust comes in this case. So it's a very beautiful demonstration, especially feedback at the point in time. So I always feel that feedback is a very good opportunity to be able to demonstrate both the seriousness of the need to drive business results, but at the same time as well, you are inviting the other person to come on this journey with you on how to get to that together in this case.
Yes.
So, I mean, the one thing that sometimes, just thinking out of the box a little bit, I mean, sometimes even before we jump into that means how do we avoid such feedbacks in this case? Or not avoid, but kind of like how do we avoid such situations, right? I think a lot of times we as managers, we don't set the expectation right at the beginning.
Yes.
Right? So and when we say expectation here, that also should include behavioral expectations as well, right? And I would say not a whole list of stuff, then it'd be totally micromanaging. But I'm talking about really non-negotiable behaviors in this case. So, for example, I was just speaking to somebody quite recently, and again, it's back to the sales, because sales is the most easy to measure in this case. So this manager was just sharing and saying that I'm having a lot of issues with this person, this person has punctuality issues and all these things, right? But this person is closing deals, and
growth covers all sins.
So what do we do and so on, right? So that's where I am reminded that it is because you, as a manager, or at least you are the guardian of the department, it's really important for you to be able to say, okay, look, aside all the usuals, right? You need to prospect, you need to close deals and so on. There are also a set of non-negotiable behaviors as well, which I want to state it up front. Everything else, of course, we can talk about it, but these are some of the non-negotiables. So, for example, this particular person I was talking to wants to build his sales team to be like a consultant. So then I say, okay, so consultant means what to you? What are the non-negotiable behaviors of a consultant in this case? And this person said that in order for this person to be a consultant level, they need to be curious. They need to actively listen, don't interrupt in this case, and learn to ask thoughtful questions to the client in this case. Right, so these are some of the non-negotiables for them. So I say, okay, so if this is it, then you need to be able to explain this very clearly, to them, to say that aside from the usual stuff we should know, like I said, but it's also important for you to be able to say that these are the non-negotiables, right? But then to also invite them to say, okay, so if these are the non-negotiables and these are the rules of the game in this case, then let's discuss how I can support you and help you to get towards being someone like that. So then that's where you set the expectation up front and you invite them to still be who they are, but yet there's a certain parameter they need to work within in this case. So that when such behaviors appear, whether rolling eyes and so on, then there's always an anchor to say, hey, remember we talked about this, these are some non-negotiables, and this is not helping, this behavior is not helping you to be a consultant, for example.
Yes.
So this is something
you actually brought up a good point in terms of from a systems perspective. I think that was what you have been saying, is that there is a larger system operating in corporate setting that actually managers or leaders can leverage on. And this is why then organization values or organization culture become important. because it established certain behavioral way of being, to operate, what kind of values to embody and uphold as leaders, and therefore setting the example to down the line. So this is where organization can come in. At a team level, we can also establish the rules of engagement, like what you said. Yeah. So then all these become systems and processes that mid-management can use to help them guide their team members, towards more constructive behaviors.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add on to this letter?
I think a lot of times people don't behave because they just want to be nasty. I think that's why the coaching would usually uncover motivation as to why they behave this way. But a lot of times there are also situations where leadership quality is not consistent, meaning that this employee who has such behaviors may actually have role models in other departments or even within the team who behave in such a way and get away with it. Yeah, I think that is usually then a much bigger issue where it comes to how we work together or the rules of engagement. So I think rules of engagement is always something that I advocate, whether you have a team charter or not. But I think if you don't have a team charter, team vision, that's fine. But I think rules of engagement of how the team should work together within themselves and also across other teams, I think this is any team lead should consider establishing.
On this point, I'm curious, for the rules of engagement, does it have to be documented in any way? Or
Ideally,
it's just
yes.
Okay.
No, ideally, yes. So that it can be used as part of onboarding for anyone who joins the team. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Anything else before I kind of like try my best to recap some key actions that the letter writer can work on? Anything else to add on?
I think the other thing is about what do the rest of the team, what is their involvement from the rest of the
that's
team
interesting.
members? Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
don't so meaning that don't take it just like a me and you, me versus you kind of war
Right.
or conflict, because
Yeah.
then it can get personal. So I think sometimes can also leverage the help of the rest of the colleagues. See whether this person has a closer relationship to other colleagues within the team or even across teams, and kind of feed it back to them. Yeah.
Through the person's...
through the other people who actually experience that kind of behavior from him. Like in a meeting, right? In a
Right.
team meeting, other team members actually can also learn to hold him accountable, or even tell the person off. Yeah, to say that, hey, when you do that, I feel it's very condescending, Yeah. So I think use the power of systems. I think that'll be good, and not take everything upon yourself.
Oh wow, okay, that's new to me. Never thought it from that point of view. Okay, got it. So let's quickly recap and what are some of the key actions that the letter writer can work on. We talk about we started off by saying that in order for the feedback to be given constructively, it needs to be able to equate to or have tangible changes in this case. So it needs to always tie back to that, right? And if the easy part, if the feedback is given and if it's a blind spot, then it's easy because it's an awareness issue. But in this case, for the letter writer, it is not a blind spot, it keeps reoccurring. Then coaching needs to be used as a skill to understand where this person is coming from. And we also talk about it to ensure that it is just not me and you in this case, is to also learn how to leverage on the systems of the organization, right? In this case, to leverage on the others in the team to be able to help provide such feedback as well in this case, so that the letter writer, or in this case the line manager, do not feel that they are doing this all alone, but as a group or as a team. And it's always in the how when we give feedback, right? So it's not in the what, but it's the how we give the feedback. So it's very important to emphasize about the impact of it, but be very careful about not sounding like a threat
Yes.
in terms of the impact, right? So it needs to use universal laws, kind of like almost like universal language in this case, and it's not like if you do this, this will happen. I will take away
Yeah.
this privilege or whatever that you're gunning for. So I think it's very
Yes.
important not to sound like that when you're highlighting the impact of that behavior, and also it's important what these letter writers should also seek out or consider as well is to maybe find out from the organization itself, whether through HR or through the business manager, in terms of what kind of values that the whole organization actually they should have in this case, right? And it's again about organization systems, values to uphold, and then also to be able to have to understand from a team level, what's the rules of engagement as well. I think in this case, most of the time, not every company which I know actually have some kind of a documented rules of engagement. So a lot of times it's monkey see, monkey do. I see the rest of the HODs, what they're doing, I also will follow in this case, right? So I think once this line manager or this, I'm not too sure what position, could be HOD, start to see that such feedback is helpful, is helping him, or in this case, I think this person should also band together with the rest of the HODs to say, hey, let's have a more standardized version of how do we engage with our people, so that it becomes much more empowering in this case.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it. Yes.
Let's tackle letter 2. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm in senior management. That line is interesting itself. I've been told I need to restructure my team. On the list of people to potentially let go is someone who's been with us from the start. He's loyal, dependable, helpful, and he built the foundation of what we are today. But the truth is, this business has outgrown him. He hasn't adapted to the pace, and newer hires are lapping him in performance and innovation. I keep wondering, is it disloyal to let him go? How do you make peace with decisions that feel like a betrayal, even when it makes business sense?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one.
Okay.
Ouch.
What do you
That's
Seok
difficult one they give me.
Yeah. Any
Yeah,
thoughts? Any thoughts? Any starting thoughts?
Okay. This is really difficult usually. I can
Yeah.
empathize with the
Yeah.
letter writer, right? And I mean, when I work with startups, this usually happens like in the 5th to 7th year of the startup. And that's when sometimes founder team or founders start to experience this a lot. Yeah, because for a startup to exist after 5 years, I think they must have done something good and able to scale by then.
Yeah.
So that's when they start to feel that, because startup usually how they function is like, I invite all my friends, join my venture, right?
Yeah.
But not every friends can kind of really grow with a company, which is true. So similar to this situation where the team or certain team members was left behind. So I think a lot of times my advice to people in such a situation is that to help them differentiate between trust and contracts. So with people and relationship, we talk about trust. Yeah. But with organizations, we talk about contracts and engagements. And this actually means that there is a difference between a personal capacity and a professional capacity at the workplace. And both operate at the same time most times. And now is when you have a paradox or when you have a opposing objective, you want to keep the relationship at the same time, you need to fulfill the professional agenda objectives. This is where you need to also differentiate what is really supporting these two types of capacity, the professional and the personal one. Yeah. I think first is to really help the letter writer in this case to understand that these two are two things. Most time it can be born together when the person is still performing in the role. Yeah. But when there is no performance and you still have the relation, that's when it starts to drift apart. Yeah. So therefore, how I normally would address this kind of situation is to even check in with the manager, in this case, the letter writer, like, do you think the person is really happy also doing the job? Yeah. A lot of times it's like we feel that, oh, it's so bad. We want to keep the person. We kind of buy time for the person. But the person is clearly not performing, is being outgrown by the company. And does the person actually feel happy and fulfilling in that role that they are now playing? Do you think the person doesn't know? Or does the person know that he or she is falling behind? Yeah. I think that would be a good space to start. Because a lot of times people are just, or managers are just thinking on their own and not really knowing how the person is actually still in the la la land, or, kind of like also suffering, per se. And maybe just staying on as well, or hanging on just for that relationship, even though they are not feeling, not having the dignity at work.
What if it is not the case? I mean, in this case, like you said, it is the person actually is totally oblivious about the situation, and yeah, of course, there are days where they may not feel extremely fulfilled in this case, but generally they're okay, right? In this case, so they
So
just
it's still in the la la land, right?
yeah. I mean the la la land bit, right? So what happens? I mean, if let's say when you speak to that person and you need to make difficult decisions.
So if the person is still in la la land, then it's actually not a termination issue, but it's a feedback issue. That means there's a total lack of feedback or effective feedback to let the person know, such that they don't even know where they stand right now.
When I got this letter, the first thing that came to my mind was more of like how did you even come to this position?
Yeah, exactly.
So that is something which I think it angers me to a certain extent when you have to come to this position.
Yes.
That means, in other words, right from the beginning, such organizations, not specifically for letter writer, but in most organizations, they look at talents or people in the company as widgets, in this case, as like, I hire this person to just get the job done, and there isn't any plan for career growth and so on, right? So when it comes to such a situation where restructuring needs to happen because of economic reasons, then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, then they check the Excel sheet and say, oh, this person is earning more and this person is only giving 10% capacity. Okay lah, we'll do something about it, So I think it's very sad that such things happen, and in fact, quite recently also I had a conversation as well with another person, very similar to a certain extent to what the letter writer is going through. It's just that a bit unfortunate that he inherited this team. So I'm not too sure whether or not it's the same thing as a letter writer. So he inherited this particular team. It's like a promotion, but so he was moved to another division. He inherited this team, and which means there is no control, right? So when he inherited the team, then so there's this particular person in the team which is very senior, both in age as well as also in position as well, like a senior manager in this case.
Okay.
So by this person which I was talking to, somehow I felt that they were trying to manage this. Let's call this senior person Carmen. It felt like he was trying to manage Carmen out to a certain extent. Just that unfortunately the person I'm talking to inherited this team, and then the boss say like, okay, so please get Carmen right now, because Carmen has been doing operations all this while for many years in the company. And so kind of like told her to say, okay, I need so told this person I was talking to, please tell Carmen that now she will be moved to a more strategic position. You have to do strategy right now, not operations. So the whole life Carmen's been doing operations, then now I have to move to strategy, right?
Gosh.
So that particular move was very uncomfortable for this person I was talking to, because kind of like the writings on the wall for this person in this case,
Yep.
right? And when my friend was asking like the reason and so on, he says, oh, it's because felt that Carmen was overpaid for the position, and only doing about 10% of the job, and we need to get Carmen to be more involved in more strategic things in this case. I think it's quite difficult for this friend of mine to handle this case, because Carmen is a very senior person in age and finds it very difficult to suddenly ask me to do strategy. All this while I've been doing operations, right? I don't know, it's very overwhelming for that person. So to cut the long story short, so Carmen resigned, right? Yeah. So but what my contact, my friend mentioned, said, I thought he did it really well in terms of like, he managed the boss as well. He managed the boss to say that, look, that's I understand where you're coming from a business standpoint, like you said, in terms of contract, but let me give me time, right? 3 months or something like that, for me to be able to attempt to train her, train Carmen up. So I think it was very, very it's a right thing for this contact or friend of mine to do it. So I actually attempted to train Carmen, a systematic way of helping Carmen out, how to become much more strategic and so on. It's just that unfortunately, after Carmen wasn't doing anything at all, because it was just too overwhelming. Even though the task has been given, let's try this. So if it was too overwhelming, then my contact will try to break it down to smaller pieces. Even that also, Carmen was just sitting on it because it was just too much. I mean, can't cross the chasm in this case. Yeah. So much so that that Carmen was supposed to present something strategic to the big bosses, and she couldn't. And I think that broke the camel's back. So the next day, Carmen just threw in the resignation letter in this case. I think what hurt my friend as well in this case was, I think Carmen felt that my friend was, kind of like go around telling people to say that, that he's teaching too fast, I cannot understand, things like this. Then my friend said, look, I can't help it. I mean, there's something
it was
which
a given time, right?
but at least I know, I'm at peace to know that I have already tried my best, to balance both what the company needs, as well as also trying my best to retain this person in this case. And it just so happened it didn't turn out to be how it is. Yeah, so it's not going to be exactly like what this letter writer is going through, but there are a lot of there's this tension of trust and contract to a certain extent. Yeah, so I just thought I wanted to just share that story, and I'm not too sure what the letter writer will get out from it. But all in all, I think what the letter writer should be considering is to, like what you say about not too sure whether or not this person is really happy, right? So is to be able to reframe the word loyal. I think the letter writer used the word loyal quite a fair bit.
The betrayal.
To reframe loyalty, right? What does loyalty here means? Because if this person, like you said, is not really happy in the position, and is not being told that you need to, to step up in this case, right? Then it's not really about loyalty. In fact, it's actually betrayal.
Yes.
Right? You're actually betraying that relationship, that trust, that the so-called the trust contract in this case, right? Because you are supposed to be, helping to grow this person in this case, and now the very last minute you say, oh, you know what, you're not fit in this case. So I think that is really not loyal. Yes, we have to first of all acknowledge that this person has contributed. Like you say, for example, let's say if it's a startup, the first 3-4 years have contributed to build the foundation. But however, business is dynamic, right? Things move very quickly and all.
Yep.
So this person also need to move according to the times as well. So I think this letter writer, in order to feel that I think need to feel at peace. How do you make peace with decision? Yeah. So to help him to feel at peace with this decision is to be able to reframe the word or his understanding of what loyalty is, because
Yes.
if it will be in fact disloyal or betray of not helping this person grow in their life in this case. Any thoughts on what I just said?
I think there are actually two folds to this kind of situation. One fold is, the systemic fold, where how did they come to this hard decision, right? And what could they have done to actually make this difficult decision less difficult? The other one is like what you said, someone inherited and they are already at the difficult decision. In the short term, near term, what can they do? And I love the examples, the stories you shared about that manager who really is doing the right thing in this case, about how can you buy time, manage upwards, manage downwards, and at the same time, try the best to make things work. Because clearly the person wasn't set up for success by moving a person from operation to strategy. So that part I think is taken care of, and people should really kind of sit them down with Carmen, for example, in this case. I think the missing party here is the Carmen. What do Carmen think? What do Carmen want? What are the needs of Carmen that she wants to fulfill? So it is usually at a partnership discussion, because it really involves and heavily affect Carmen with this decision making, right? So if especially Carmen is senior person enough, it actually might be more optimized to bring Carmen in to have a discussion to say, look, this is the current situation, and how can we support you in this case, rather than decide on and make the decision onto Carmen and kind of like, okay, this is what we are going to do. Because Carmen may actually decided 3 months earlier to say that, no, I don't think I can catch up. I know where I want. I just want to maybe just serve 1 month notice and I'll go. Rather than go through the pain and agony of 3 months trying to learn something she doesn't want, things like that. So I think that there should be consultation with Carmen to get her inputs. Yeah, of course, but sometimes people may not be so logical and mature. I understand, and therefore they risk, kind of upsetting the person and become toxic and all this. So if it's a toxic situation, it's a separate handling. What I do want to highlight is that there is many times is that when I talk to co-founders who are in this situation where they build a team, now one of the co-founder is not, stepping up. I did tell them that, they unfortunately come to this situation. But given that you all have not done properly and the person is still in the la-la land, now you have to at least spend 3 months or 6 months with the person to kind of give feedback and discuss with this person what they plan to do, what their needs are. Because I always use the word tuition fees. I said, you have took the easy way out all this while and the person is still in the la-la land, and now you have to pay the tuition fee by tolerating 3 more months. Yeah, to actually help this person kind of like, and this is your lesson that you need to learn as a leader as well. Yeah. So I don't let them see that, oh, this is my jurisdiction, I have the authority, and therefore I can get away with it. I think it's very important that in any kind of conversation or decision making, leaders needs to learn so that they don't repeat the same thing again. Yeah. So I think it's really about multi-perspective when it comes to such a difficult position. If they have done their part, for example, let Carmen know and all this, and after sending her for a lot of training and mentoring or whatever, it still doesn't work, then too bad. Then it shouldn't be a difficult decision in the first place. It shouldn't be a betrayal conversation in the first place.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure it's the same for this letter writer, because it feels quite urgent to do the restructuring, right? I'm not too sure whether the letter writer would have the luxury to discuss with the bosses and kind of say that, hey, let's have a discussion. It's almost like, I don't know, and let's not assume. So I think what we're saying to the letter writer is to have the conversation with this person that will be affected, and rope this person in that conversation,
Yes.
in this case, right? And so that you don't act on behalf or decide on behalf of this person, and kind of blindside this person, to actually have the conversation and to state the facts, right? To say that, like, we acknowledge that that you have been contributing so and so, just kind of state it as it is.
Yeah.
And to then discuss to say what would be the possible, and this is where we probably need you most in this case to justify your position in this case, right? And to allow time as well, right? Like,
Yes.
say 3 months, 6 months, and so on. If not, then the organization will have, or the leaders will have to continue to pay tuition fees in this case.
Yeah.
I think for startups could be an easier discussion, but for big organizations sometimes may not. They just need to cut people,
Yeah,
that kind
true.
of thing. Yeah. So.
I've also had very mature leaders in those situations, like they inherit or have to execute a decision. They continue to keep the relationship with Carmen. Yeah, after Carmen leaves, right, or terminated, and therefore support Carmen at a relational level. Meaning that being a direct supervisor, they can write a testimony, or they can be the reference referee and all this, and maybe spread the word to say that, hey, I have a pretty good employee who actually is strong in this area. Help them look for a job and all this. So there can be actually personal support. Yeah, and again, it goes back to our earlier conversation where there is a professional capacity and a personal capacity. Yes. So it doesn't mean that it stops you. While in the professional capacity, you may be hand-tied, but then in the personal capacity, what can you do as a human being? Yeah, I think leadership basically is also about the leader, not just the work. Yeah.
Okay. Oof, tough one. Anything you want to add on before I try my best to recap again? What are some of the actions that the letter writer can do?
I think the last thing to highlight is that don't retain out of sympathy. Yeah.
Oh.
So sympathy is where the person cannot make it, but you are trying to get the person hang on, right? Although the person likely not succeed. So sympathy has a judgment where it has a power difference. I think compassion is where you believe the person can thrive elsewhere. You believe that the person is also not happy. Bring the person in for a consultation and check all the assumptions and help the person find the most optimal decision making. After all, this is Carmen's career, Carmen's life, for example, right? So she should have a say, ideally, in it. But of course, I understand how sometimes companies operate. Yeah.
Understand. Okay. So what are we telling the letter writer is that first of all, there is this understanding that there is this two types of so-called contracts.
Yes.
The personal contract as well as the professional contract. And the personal would be a lot got to do with the relationship, and the professional contract is got to do a lot with got to do with the company in this case, and then it's the two separate things. So the letter writer needs to understand there's two separate things. So that I think also would definitely help the letter writer to be a bit of at peace, to understand that it is, it's not betrayal to a certain extent. And the second thing is also to reframe what loyalty here means in this case, right? So we talk about if you continue to prolong it, then it's actually betrayal, right? And then just before we went to this recap, you also mentioned is don't retain our sympathy in this case versus compassion, right? So compassion has a more growth aspect to it, to say, look, I look at you as a person, I want to help you as a human being. It may not necessarily be here in this organization, it could be somewhere else as well. So in this case, then it's also really about providing that continued support to this person outside of our organization. Like, for example, refer this person to another organization, be the referee for this person in this case. So that part of the personal contract part is being managed as well, right? And if it's possible, I think in this case, before we even get to that, it's also for the letter writer to try to buy time in this case, to manage outputs and say that give time, let me try to figure out a way to have this honest conversation with this person, and also allow like maybe 3 months or 6 months to see whether can it be optimized for another position. The letter writer should really consider also to manage upwards as well, to buy time for this person, to be able to say like this give me 3 months or 6 months in this case, to be able to manage the situation and to see how we can further optimize. And it's kind of like test and see where the upper management, whether or not they have got the appetite for that. But at least this person should try to at least have a peace of mind in this case. So I think that it's kind of like the advice that we should be that we have given to this letter writer. I think if there's nothing else, we will then move on to the third letter. Get into it. Dear building meta leaders, I've been told I need to develop more executive presence, but every time I ask what that means, I get vague answers like carry yourself with more gravitas or speak with confidence. It feels like trying to hit a moving target. I know I do good work, I think strategically, I lead a capable team and I deliver results, but I'm starting to feel like that's not enough. The leaders who seem to rise fastest are the ones who present well, have strong opinions, and seem effortlessly confident in rooms with senior leadership. Now, how do I develop, quote, executive presence in a way that feels real and not just performative? Can't my work or my team's results do the talking? I know I'm an extrovert. No, I'm an introvert. So so over to you, okay. Okay. Anyway, so let's What are your thoughts of this whole thing about executive presence for this person?
Okay, so I think executive presence, yes, can be very fluid, abstract. I think it's really to try to understand more about what is the organizational expectations on that. But from the way the writer wrote the letter, he talked about, can my work or my team's results do the talking? There seems to be certain associations or meaning behind that, meaning there could be some assumptions that, okay, results speaks for itself, for example. Yeah, and there might be some association to negative association to performative, like that could be maybe it's just for show or something. I think these are, from a coaching perspective, these are worthwhile exploration to go with the writer of this letter. So a lot of very, very smart people actually have this struggle. In fact, yesterday I just had a coaching conversation with a chief strategy officer, and it was this exact similar topic that we actually were talking about. Yeah, because she would say that how come everybody have the perception that I challenge them, and a lot of time just trying to clarify, it's like why people don't like me, that kind of thing. And so she asked me the question that, how can I balance being polite and friendly from telling the truth? Yeah, so for this situation is that I shared the concept of between self-indulgence and authenticity, because she was struggling with being authentic. So how do you know that you're being authentic? By speaking your mind. Don't have to sugarcoat or don't have to be so performative in the way you deliver it, versus you're just being self-indulging on yourself. You don't want to improve or you don't want to grow. Because a lot of times is for my client's case, I told her, I say that if it is useful to be some level of performative, like be more friendly or warmer to get things done, because that is where people become open with you and they are receptive to your feedback. The deeper level of values, which is to actually be effective, then it's the higher order of hierarchy. Because in core values, there are actually different order. There are higher order values. Yes. But if you just stick to, I'm just telling you the truth, why should I sugarcoat? And I don't mind, if you're not happy, it's your problem, right? If you come from that end, then it's very hard to tell, is this indulgence or actually is this being authentic? Yeah. So that's something for her to think about in my client's case. Yeah. So for
Can
this
you
case, for the writer,
explain a little bit? Sorry, just it feels like the two words are the same to a certain extent. I mean, as in authentic is like I just show up as how I want
Who
it
I
to
am.
be, who I
Yeah.
am, and versus self-indulgence. What's the difference again?
Okay, to me, I think self-indulgence is very much about you do what you like.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm not good at speaking, I'm an introvert, then I don't put on a show for others. I don't care how people feel, right? If that's indulgence. If I think I'm right, I have the permission to say what I want to say, even though it hurts you. I think that is self-indulgence. You're just going with your patterns. You're not looking at upgrading your patterns or not trying to find a more optimized way of doing things. Whereas authenticity is about how do I be true to myself, right? And understanding that there are different sets of values that might be operating at the same time. And at the same time, being authentic doesn't mean being an a-hole,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, being a jerk or something. So I think authenticity is a very high order core values where it also brings other people into the picture. To be authentic is to relate. To be authentic is to kind of have optimal, effective relationship, and yet you still be you. In other words, it's being authentic. You don't operate in silo, like sit in a mountain, but being authentic is about in the midst of a crowd. How do you continue to stay and be true to who you are?
Right.
Yes. So in this case, for the letter writer, if to be authentic is really to get buy-in to support the results of the team and the ideas of the team, then would the writer be open to be more so-called performative, quote and unquote? Yeah. That'll be something that I want the writer to think about.
Yeah, that's great. Good point. I think
What's your view on that? Yeah.
my view is I think executive presence has two parts to it, very much similar to what you said, but I probably define it a bit differently in this case. There's two parts to it. So one part is very much got to do with self in terms of like how are you projecting your internals, how comfortable, the keyword is how comfortable are you in projecting your internal self to externally out there without coming across as braggy in this case. I think a lot of times people feel that, I don't want to talk a lot about myself. I don't want to, beat my chest in this case because I would just let my work do the talking in this case, right? Yes. But I think that part also needs to be polished in terms of how I can come across more confident in this case, right? So that's one part to it. And what you said just now is a second part, which is also how you relate to other people as well. So there's one part about internally, how you project out, and the other part is also how you can connect and make people around you feel comfortable in this case, so that you can, like you say, get buy-in, get things done, get support and so on, right? So it can't be just like, well, this is who I am, like you said, self-indulgent, that's who I am, I like to behave this way, so you accept it or not, it's really up to you in this case, right? So there's two parts. I'm not sure which part is lacking to a certain extent for this letter writer. If it's the first part about how comfortable in terms of projection, your internal confidence to external, there are a few things that the letter writer can consider. Okay, but before that, I think just to refine it a little bit, I think it's really important to be able to develop this thing called executive presence, because I think this letter writer is already feeling it to a certain extent that opportunities are being bypassed in this case. So as in like, why this person is going faster than me, that they can climb faster and so on. So a lot of times there's this saying that visibility creates opportunity.
Yes.
Right? It's almost like saying that, yeah, I've got a great product, but if you don't package it well, if you don't put it in a very visible shelf in this case, then no one's going to buy it. Right? So even though you say that you claim to be true, it definitely must be a great product, but if you don't know how to market it well,
Yep.
then there's going to be a problem as well, right? So I think that is something which from my marketing days, you can say that you have the best product, but you don't market it well, that's not complete in this case. So that part, I think the person needs to be able to know how to be able to market themselves, right? And there are many ways on how to market themselves well in this case. One would be as simple as just how to visibly appear confident, right? How you dress, how you groom, your body language and all. So that's one point. Second point is also about communication, like what you say and how you say it, right? So that's really important as well. And also when to say it. I think that's really important, not to say things at the wrong time, right? So I think that is the part, the internal projecting to external. The second part is really about connecting with others. There's this saying again called be interested, not interesting in this case, which means to wanting to be much more interested in the other person that you're talking to rather than the need for you to say how interesting you are. Yes. Right? So you need to be interested, not interesting in this case, right? So I think a lot of times by doing that, the executive presence comes out much stronger because you are connecting with the person, right? I think it's really important that if this person have both things, right, in terms of able to project internally very comfortably to externally, in terms of how this person show up, in terms of dressing and everything, plus also how the person communicate, and also how this person connect with the other person, the people around them, the second part, I think then that somehow it will equals to executive presence. That's my take on it. Anything to add on?
I like the fact that you use the word complete. So clearly this letter writer has done a lot, is quite accomplished, and now have moved to certain seniority, and therefore what he used to depend on that works for him seems like it's no longer sufficient, right? He has actually moved to a new baseline, a new normal, right? It is a good news for him. So, but to thrive in the new normal, new baseline, he might need additional skill sets, and in this case is the executive presence. Yeah, so I hope that he or she would not see it that it is a chore why you cannot accept me for who I am or for who I was. I think it's to see it as part of continuous growth, and given that the technical part, the do good work part is already secured, he can actually start to market himself better, like using your words.
I also like what you said about self-indulgence versus authenticity, right? Because a lot of times we have to also ask ourselves that if this is something which you're gunning towards, if you're looking at, for example, getting more projects or being visible to the higher ups in this case, it's how you connect, like you say, how you relate to people around you, and the need to be able to upgrade yourself in terms of coming across as relatable, to be able to speak better, to speak well, or maybe to be able to be interested and not interesting. All these things, you can't just say that, I'm not going to learn that because my work will do the talking itself. Yeah. So that's not enough. Like you say, it should be. That is the first baseline, because what happens is that I also know of people who don't have that, but they talk very confidently. Those are loud presence, which means there's loud but there's nothing, right? In this case, so we also do know of people like that, and that's not sustainable as well. So I think this person has done the work, right? But like you say, it's just not complete. You need to upgrade in that
Yeah.
case, right? If
I
not, the
like the
consequences.
person.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No,
cut
it's
you
not
off.
that. Like I said, the consequences is that missed opportunities.
Yes, it's the missed opportunity. I think I like the person to actually think of, he just without the marketing part or the performative part, he's already performing so well. What could he achieve and what kind of impact he can create if
Yeah.
he take it on, that development area.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add on for this person?
I think from a coaching perspective, maybe this person sees that, oh, this is a space where I'm comfortable. I don't want to go higher, and therefore, to not want to, I just want to do what I used to do. I think it's similar to playing games where you reach to a new stage. The current weapon may not be enough, or the armor you need to upgrade.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I do encourage all leaders to take on a continuous improvement mindset. Growth mindset in this case.
Yes, yeah, you're right. I think the coaching element is important because I remember coaching somebody as well, and I think what was stopping this person is clearly delivering on all fronts when it comes to the technical aspect of the work, but the person started off by saying that, I would like to be a little bit more like my boss, but not so schmoozy. So I said, please tell me more. So clearly the boss is the poster person for the company, right? So talk and so on. But I think based on her upbringing, and so on, she may not feel very comfortable with how, So that's why it's kind of like, I think knowledge wise, she understands the need to market herself, but not so much, that kind of thing. So that is where the coaching bits come in to say that, okay, so the question that I would probably ask her in this coaching, what I think I did ask her is more of like, okay, I hear where you're coming from. So what would you maintaining your technical competency, but also having to be able to market yourself, not being so schmoozy look like to you, right? So then, so this person can find her style of that, right? Yeah. So I think that's the coaching element is important as well.
Yeah. Yes, it's the balance, like how much is enough, right?
Okay, great. So if there's something else to add on, so let me just quickly recap of what the letter writer can do, is to first of all understand that it is important for this person to be able to feel much more, in order for not to miss out opportunities and all, they need to be able to look at it as a developmental natural progression in order for them to be able to get the kind of opportunities, right? So like what you said, we want the letter writer to consider, to say, look, the baseline is there, you're solid in this case. What if you add on this portion in terms of able to market yourself? How would that look like? So I think is to be able to paint a possibility of, if I have this skill, so that will be helpful for that person as well. And we also touched about being self-indulgent and authentic. I think that's really important because the letter writer needs to understand that it's also about connecting with people around them to get things done, because no one exists in a vacuum in this case. So in order for you to be able to have good executive presence, is to be able to connect with people as well and see and help them they need to feel comfortable around you, so that things can be done, ideas can flow and all these things. So that is also important for the person's career growth in this case, right? And in cases where if the person understands the concept of having executive presence is to be able to upgrade, but it is not sure how, then that's where coaching will come in, right? Like the case of talk about, I don't want to come across as schmoozy, but I know it's important. So how, right? So that's where coaching comes in, to be able to help this person find the balance or the voice which this person is really comfortable with in this case.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yes, I think that's it.
Okay, I think that's it for letter 3. I think before we close for today, I'm just wondering, was there anything that was helpful for you, that spoke to you for today, or something new that you discovered? I'm just wondering, this conversation.
Is it part of the podcast or you're asking me?
Oh, no, we can include this as part of podcast if you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's I think what comes out as we talk and bounce ideas and hearing a perspective as well is valuable. It lets me see, like, there are multi dimensions to any issue,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to leadership issues. So it's important to not to just take a one-sider or one single position perspective. Especially if we want to be more strategic or to navigate organizational dynamics. So it's like there is the leader themselves, there is the person they are dealing with, either the boss or their teammates, and there is also a system that is operating around them. So and within the person already there are multi-dimension as well, like the identity versus the skills and all this. So it kind of like helps me kind of clarify all these things and see how this whole thing is now operating in tandem at any point in time. So that was good.
As for me, I think the new thing that, not saying new, but you highlighted it again, is the dynamics of systems. I think that's really something which sometimes we don't think about, that the fact that you're swimming in an environment, so no matter sometimes how much you change, but because of the systems, it's not going to be supportive for that change in this case.
Especially for young leaders who are in the junior, or the mid-management kind of thing. You're a sandwich between. So it's even harder. I have more empathy for them.
Okay. So anyway, if you have stayed with us this far, congratulations. To this episode is a bit much longer than I thought, but thank you for staying back all the way. If you please comment and please please engage with this piece of content, because it will go far to people who needs to hear this. So with that, thank you very much for staying back all the way, and we will see you in the next episode of Building Better Leaders with Kausern Hieu.
See you.
Building Better Leaders with Kausern Hieu podcast is the advice column for leaders today. Produced and edited by me, Susan Yong. Got a leadership challenge at work? Send us a letter today. More information in the description box.